Sunday morning service is over. Let your weekly service begin. Hey you guys, it's good to see you again. Thanks so much for watching these Live It Out videos. We pray and we hope that you're taking what we're talking about and applying it each week. So last week we had the bad news. This week we have the good news. But it also starts out with a little bit of bad news. There's consequences. There's these things that happen to the serpent, which he got cursed, the ground got cursed, and man and woman, mankind, had these significant consequences. And yet in the middle of the consequences, God gives the answer, the first gospel, good news in the middle of bad news. He's like, I don't want you separated from me forever. Remember, we talked about that last week where he said, don't eat from the tree of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil, or you will surely die. They did it. And so instead of them physically dying immediately, the emotional, relational, spiritual death happened. But he didn't want them to be separated forever. So he said, you don't get to eat from the tree of life. And that was love. He wanted to give them a chance to be redeemed. Now here's the redemption. He said that the serpent's seed, the serpent's offspring, the devil's children, which sounds like a terrible band name or a cool one, depending on who you are. He says, I don't want to get it twisted. There are people that are far from God and people that are in God. The woman's seed were the people that were in God. And ultimately, the woman's seed is Jesus. So the woman's seed would get struck on the heel by the serpent's seed. But the woman's seed would crush the head of the serpent. This is the proto-evangelium, the very first gospel. And so what I want to ask you to do today in remembering the good news is think of a time where it was really, really bad news. Some really difficult things were going on. Maybe not something present because you may not be able to see the good news in it. But think of something in the past, something that was difficult, challenging, really bad news. And what good did God bring out of it? This is hard because we're like, oh, it was so bad, there was no good. Was there a perspective change? Was there a shift? Was there a reliance on God that came from it? Or was it even more, Hollywood than that, where bad turned to good? Romans 8:28 says that God makes all things work for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. So would you list some of those stories? Maybe you can start with somebody else's story, but I'm asking you to think of your own story where God has flipped the script, where he's turned it. We talked about this before, but I think it's really important for us to share the good news. So where did you see good news and bad news? And share that with people. Put it out on social media. Write it out and share it with a friend. Invite them to lunch and tell them, I just wanted to share with you how good God is and how he's come through in so many ways. The reason why he comes through, you guys, is because good news is rooted in God. God is the best news ever, and he's never left you nor forsaken you. All right. God bless you. Be strong and courageous, and let it be contagious. Live it out.